still use Zoom. I have a subscription to both. But Riverside is just a better quality. And it was a little bit of a learning curve for me to figure it out, of course. Now that I have a better understanding of it, I think, at some point I'm going to have to delegate the whole production part of it over to somebody else so they could set it up for me prior to us going live, because it does, it takes the, did I lose you? Oh, there you go.
No,
it takes, the extra 5 to 10 minutes of me setting it up and making sure it's running. So once I become a big boy like you, I can get a whole production company to take care of it for me. So for those of you who are just tuning in, tuning in, do me a favor, give me a quick thumbs up to make sure that the audio is working. I see some captions, so I think everything is working fine. I was able to pull Tyson away from his very, very busy schedule. He and I met a few years back online, virtually, because we do run in the same real estate circles. And I was immediately impressed by him and what he was doing as a real estate investor. Just on the real estate side, that was the only real part of his personality. That was the only real part of his professional career that I knew. And then as we started to get to know each other, and as I started to dig deeper and see his content and figure out who he was, I started to pull back the layers and see how much more of an interesting person he is, and the stuff that he does, not just as an investor, but really just to help other people. I mean, it seems like you have a really, really, really huge heart, and you really go out of your way for people. So we're going to talk about real estate investing. Tyson is an expert at it, Tyson DeLaCruz, and we're also going to talk about some of his wellness, the mental wellness, and how he runs it. Are they clinics, Tyson, or what would you call them?
Yeah, they're alternative holistic treatment facilities to treat like anxiety, depression, PTSD, chronic pain, and we do that. One of our main modalities is clinical psychedelic psychotherapy.
Awesome. And when we first talked, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was so you as a real estate investor, you were purchasing properties to then do exactly what you just described, right? I don't want to say it. I don't want to try to repeat it because I'll probably say it wrong, but it more or less.
Yeah, similar. So we converted some of the rental portfolio into transitional living facilities or group homes for individuals that need a space to live, and if they're looking into streets, we give them a place, and we also provide them with resources to be better,
and they need housing. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So it takes money, and you need real estate. So it almost makes sense that the two go hand in hand, and you being proficient and good at both, it's a perfect combination, right? I think.
Yeah, it's poses its own challenges, right? Like particularly, real estate investing going into like group homes and then wellness clinics, like it does pose its own challenges. But for me, like it's incredibly rewarding. Just like you had mentioned earlier, like the reward being able to help people, being able to get them into housing, also just helping them with their anxiety in the clinic. It's like the dopamine release that I get from helping them is, man, it's a lot higher than like a dopamine release that I get from a check. Don't get me wrong, I still like the checks though.
Yeah.
But it's a strong dopamine release.
That's awesome.
And
okay, I'm sorry. Did finish your thought?
People.
Got it. So prior to us getting going, I sent Tyson.
Go ahead.
I sent him a list of questions that I like to ask, just so that the audience could get to know our guest. And so what we'll do is I'm going to go through some of these questions. Again, for those of you who are just tuning in, I have Mr. Tyson DeLaCruz with us, based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, real estate investor and a wellness expert. And he's merged these two worlds together. And just give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you hear us okay. And I'll go right into the questions. Let's go into them, and you can get to know Mr. DeLaCruz. So, Tyson, I saw that you did post this on Instagram, but I'm going to ask it again anyway. So what are 1 to 3 books that you give out as gifts, or 1 to 3 books that you personally cherish, or that you think have impacted your life?
The first one that comes to mind is a book by Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos. It's called Now or Never, Your Epic Life in 5 Steps. Fantastic book. It's a personal development book, goes into growing your own personal development, getting over traumas and, experiencing life at a real, rich level. That to me is like a super game changer book. The other one that I didn't mention in the post was a book by Eckhart Tolle, which is another personal development book that actually, honestly, really saved my life. I was experiencing severe depression and anxiety about 10 years ago. And then I was introduced to Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now. And that was an absolute game changer for me. So, 2 personal development books are top notch for me. And then I would say the third one, is I did say $100 startup in the Instagram post.
Yeah.
And that's a really solid book. I actively reread that book quite a few times, particularly if the wellness clinic, how to maximize and leverage money and leverage time and resources to start something new. $100 Startup is a great book, but I would say now, something that I would give if it wasn't a hard copy would be, $100 million leads. The first one that he did, those are great books too.
Were you on that webinar when he announced it and he gave away all those giveaways and he did that training?
Dude, it was an epic webinar. I watched, I was a little tardy, but I watched
Saturday, right? It was on a Saturday of all days. On a Saturday morning is when this guy decides, I'm gonna do this. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy.
And the way that he delivered it was fantastic. He was going to go sell a course, and then he gives it all away for free.
That was crazy. Yeah, that's
mad respect to Alex Hormozi, man. Yeah. He's over delivering the value, which I think a lot of businesses, and it's reframed me personally, how much value can I give versus asking for money first,
Yeah, that was a great webinar. Okay, cool. Now that you bring up the $100 startup, I got a question for you. So what is something $100 or less that you use on a daily basis that has also impacted your life? Maybe it's your business, maybe it's your personal life. It doesn't have to be anything expensive, just something under $100 that you use frequently, and it changed the way you run your day.
Man, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is the YouTube subscription. There's a subscription, YouTube Red program or whatever it is.
Premium,
yeah, YouTube Premium. Because I listen to YouTube Premium quite a bit. Whether that's 1 Year Bible or meditation playlists that I have on there, then I don't have to listen to commercials. So for me, it's $14.99 a month. It's way less than $100, but it's that to me is imperative, because then I don't have to listen to 6 commercials to listen to my meditation playlist,
Yeah, we subscribe to it too. All of my kids have it. We all have it. Once you purchase it, you also get free YouTube music with it. So I don't know if people know that or not, but if you subscribe to YouTube Premium, you also get the YouTube music. And I only discovered this because of my kids. And the beauty is you don't have to hear the ads, but you can have the phone powered off. The video doesn't have to be on, and you can just play it. And that's another benefit, as opposed to having to have the phone on and have the video running and draining the battery all the time. So anyway, that's a great tip. Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay.
And you know what, there was a time where my card expired on the YouTube Premium, and I was like, why am I getting all these?
Yeah.
It was the worst, man. It was the worst. All
Yeah,
good
you know, once you go onto YouTube Premium, it's hard to go back, for sure, 100%. Okay, now, hopefully you're willing to share this. What is a failure or a setback, right? Depending on how you look at it, that has made you better at what you do now. So somebody might perceive it as a setback, somebody might perceive it as a failure, but to you, you know, it was a launch pad, and it made you better at you know, your business or your personal life, whatever you're willing to share.
Yeah, I think two things come to mind. One of them is, you know, with business, I think for me at least, I gain more value in the L's. There's more lessons in the L's than there are in the W's. And one of the most recent ones, to be honest, is, you know, just as change, you know, like a lot of debt occurred, you know, on projects that we've had, and you know, maybe they sat on the market for too long. You know, whatever happened. This is the most recent one, but it's like, you know, we got to pay back some of that debt, and you know how we do that is incredibly important. Much integrity as possible to, you know, the lenders that have borrowed us to borrow, and just, you know, being as transparent as possible, right? And then also like knowing that, you know, we have to, like, I'm choosing to give that back, you know, like we still got a few things of bad debt left, but through those L's, you know, it's just allowed me to like really look at being property acquisitions, right, and projects. And
Sure.
for me at least, I got really inflated in the bullish market, you know, like I'm like, oh, cool, you know, because there was a
We
time
all
where you
did.
could buy
Yeah.
something and you knew it would go up 10K in 3 weeks, you know, and it's like you know, it wasn't like that. It turned really quick, and I knew it was coming, but you know, you just generally can't prepare for that. We You can, you know, I'll probably have two more of those cycles in my lifetime, hopefully three, but
Yeah.
you know, I'll learn from those definitely, and then you know, how like interpersonal relationship is so important, you know, particularly pertaining to my spouse, right? Like, um, you know, I can't treat it like a business. Uh, you know, there's more emotions involved. So like just learning how to be a human, not a producer, right?
Sure.
It's also poses challenges too.
Yeah, 100%. So, okay, so let's talk about that real quick, especially because of your background in wellness. So when you're dealing with those L's, and you know, look, carrying debt is not easy. I can relate in some cases more than you know. You know, but the question then is, how do you mentally deal with that pressure? Knowing that you know, you have to perform, you have to step up, and especially as a real estate investor, because it's really easy, and people do it. You just throw in the towel, you fold it, you could BK it, and you're like, I'm done, right? But what you're telling me is, look, I'm gonna complete these. I'm gonna find a way to get you the investor's money. How do you deal with that? What advice would you give to the people who might be in similar positions where they've taken on these projects? I was on the phone with someone that had like a house that would be worth 1.2 million when they sell it. They're in it about 500,000, and they're running out of money, and they don't have any more money, and it's a new construction, and they're looking for other investors to invest. And you know, I could hear the stress in their voice. I mean, what advice would you give to somebody that might be in those kind of situations?
Man, to be honest with you, the that I've really leaned into is faith, right?
Mm,
Spiritually sound, and also that I'm still doing things personally to move the stress and anxiety, whether that's exercise or walking, or doing things that kind of take my mind off of those things temporarily, because I think that's when I find the most clarity. And at the end of the day, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Um, but it's the ability to kind of navigate through those moments are what really forge a personality and a business owner. Like resourcefulness, and then not being afraid to ask for help through colleagues and friends, because they might be able to help you. They might, and more likely than none, they are able to help you kind of navigate through some of this stuff, whether that's kind of solving a problem or offsetting costs or whatever it is.
sure.
But you know uh things, and there are times where you're like, man, I'm just gonna fold up the towel, F it, right?
Yeah,
But there's, especially in the beginning, when something happens like that, and it's just like, you made a commitment to other people, and you got to keep that integritous mindset. And also know that you can only push so hard, right? Like if you push so hard and you get sick or whatever, you're not going to be able to produce anything. So keeping that balance still, and then transparency, man, like transparency.
got it. Do you ever detach yourself like from the situation and then look at it from a different vantage point? Like sometimes I'll say to myself, okay, so what if there's another version of me, the external version of me, that's trying to counsel myself, right? The same way I would counsel my own kids. What would I say to myself or to my kids being in that position? Do you ever do anything like that?
I do, man. uh I do it in the mirror, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and more so, instead of like, because I've had this kind of mindset when I was a kid of like, I would beat myself up if I didn't perform right, because just kind of growing up, things were always like never good enough, and like,
Sure.
so I kind of beat myself up. But giving myself like love and grace through the process, because you don't know what you don't know. And hindsight's 2020, so it's like, yo, Tyson, like, you got this, you're strong, you're powerful, you know ask for help. Like, these are the things that I generally say in the mirror, right? And I look
Right.
myself in the eye, and it just kind of fills me up, man. Because um, and just I'm mindful of the thoughts that come in, right? Like I could beat myself up internally. Like after I get off the phone with somebody, I'm just like, oh, what a dummy. Why'd you say that? Like, no, like,
Right.
hey, do better. Like, that was good, do better.
Sure.
Just just giving myself some grace, man. Because the more that I beat myself up, then I go in a downward spiral, man.
Oh, 100%. I believe in that saying that like there's nothing that you can say to me that's worse than I haven't already said to myself. And we all go through that. We all go through that. Okay, cool. All right. So if you had a billboard, let's say we got you a billboard on the 15, right as you're exiting into downtown Las Vegas, big old billboard. When there's a bunch of billboards, but like, what would yours say?
My like a quote that I love, man, is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And
Hmm.
for me, like, that's just a I have it here in the office on a big piece of art that my buddy painted. And you know it's just how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like, how, if you show up late, like, where else are you showing up late? If and it's just I'm not saying that I'm like perfect, but if I do this one thing, if I don't fold all my clothes and I just put them in the drawer, like where else am I like not folding clothes and putting in my drawer? It's just like how you do one thing is how you do everything, man.
Yeah.
What would yours be?
As crass as it sounds, it would probably just be fuck it, right? It would just be fuck it. And that applies to both the positive, and it applies to the negative, and it applies to the neutral. That small phrase, and I could give so many quotes about faith and all these other things. And don't get me wrong, I practice all those things, but sometimes the smallest and most simplest quote is just, "Fuck it, I gotta try it. Fuck it, I gotta do it. Fuck it, this isn't working out. Fuck it, it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to pan out. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway." And so that would probably be mine. I don't know if they'd let me do it, but anyway.
I love it. It would be like F asterisk, CK.
Yeah. I mean,
no, it's perfect, man. Because I think, bro, like so often we keep holding on to stuff, or we're like afraid to do something, and you're just like, I think the moment that you say fuck it, you just kind of like leave that energy. You're just like, fuck, like if I do it and I win, awesome. If I do it and I lose, fuck it. Back to the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. That's probably, like, you could put that on my tombstone. I mean, it's just and people around me know that that's something that I say a lot. Just like, let's try it, let's do it. So it works, in the positive, it works in the negative, it works in the neutral. It's just it can be applied to anything. That would probably be mine. Okay, so just before we dive into the meat and potatoes, into real estate, and then we'll go into how you transitioned all that expertise into wellness. I'm checking for comments. So, for those of you who are watching, I have dual screen. So if you see me and my head shifts, it's not that I'm not looking at the camera. It's just I'm looking at the comments that are coming in. Okay, so this will be our last question. What is an unusual habit, behavior, or something that you really like to do that people wouldn't necessarily peg you for? They wouldn't think that you were into this, or they wouldn't associate you with that. Or some people would think it's unusual, but it's something that you really like to do.
Oh, man.
And we're not talking about in the bedroom here. We're just talking like, G-rated here.
The first thing that came to mind, man, is like, this isn't like, I'll get into it, but like, I don't know. It's weird, man. Like I love smelling my this isn't the answer to this question, but like I love smelling like my feet, right? Like it's weird. But the real answer to the question would be like the art. Like I originally went to school for fine art, and
awesome.
And when people come into the office and they see the art and they're like, "Oh my gosh, who did this?" And like I did them, and they don't generally see me as like an artist, right? So, and I don't often like. One of my project managers and my partner, he was like, "Man, you're one of the most like undercover artists. You have all this art in your closet and in this room, and nobody's ever seen it." And it's just like, yeah, well, maybe when I pass away, it'd be worth something super valuable.
That's interesting. Am I seeing a Steve Jobs in the back? Is that Steve Jobs to your left?
Yeah.
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 And that's something that you did.
Yeah, yeah. So that was all done with bingo dots, like the bingo dotters.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no.
That's pretty cool.
And then this one right here is
that is so Vegas too. That's so Vegas. Like to do that with like the bingo dot thing. Wow. Yeah, you got to get that commissioned, man.
Yeah, yeah. I've done quite a few pieces like that were commissioned, and like those are fun, man. Like those are really fun. I really enjoy doing that. Since I moved into the new house, I haven't. I don't have like a space to paint at the moment. And I'm just a real messy painter, man. Like, and the projects will stay out for weeks, so I need to find a space to paint.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, you guys. For those of you who are just coming in, I have Tyson DeLaCruz with us. He is out of Las Vegas, but he's a real estate investor who has invested in many, many, many markets. And so today, what I'm hoping that he'll be able to do is share with us some of the secrets that have made him successful as a real estate investor. I know that, Tyson, you've done a lot of different things across a lot of different platforms in real estate, as a buy and hold, flipping, wholesaling, creative, and then we've converted some of the properties that you own into the wellness centers. So let's just start for someone who's just brand new. They're just looking at this. They're listening to us for the first time, and they're like, you know what? I'd like to become a real estate investor. I don't really know. Where do I start? What do I do? How do I get going?
Great question, man. Honestly, like there's so many groups right now out there, like on Facebook and YouTube. There's a lot of free information regarding, wholesaling or house flipping. And, to be honest with you, is I would say like, if an individual is interested in getting started into like getting like real estate experience, wholesaling is a great like low barrier of entry. Finding distressed properties or finding distressed homeowners, that need support, and then getting that under contract and then selling that to a flipper like yourself or me or whoever, and maybe even partnering with them on a deal. But I think that's the easiest way, easiest barrier of entry, just to gain the experience, right?
Sure.
And don't don't get caught up on like all the the fancy object syndrome, right? Like focus on one kind of niche, like whether it's pre-foreclosures or reverse mortgages or empty nesters or whatever it is. Focus on that for some time until you get a proclivity of how to transact deals, and then move into different niches, because each niche is totally different. Like the way that you talk to a pre-foreclosure person is going to be different than the way that you talk to a probate or a seasoned investor that's just looking to offload properties. So find a niche that you really like or a neighborhood that you like, and then just actively market to that particular neighborhood zip code, and then get them at a discount, and then sell it to a flipper. I know that sounds a lot easier said than done, but I think that's the easiest and quickest way.
So what markets? What is the best market for somebody brand new to start focusing on them?
Great question, man. To be honest, I would say focus on your backyard, the the easiest, the first, right? Because you have an acclimate of what's going on in the area, unless you live in Vegas or Arizona, right? Um, but, but focus on your backyard, and get an understanding of what things trade at, right? Like you generally don't hear that word like trade, but like in real estate, but like the houses trade for different values in different neighborhoods, and they trade in for like uh different styles, so get familiar with your backyard, maybe do one or two deals in your backyard, um, before you decide to go out virtually. Because when you go out virtually, there's a whole nother gamut that comes along with it. Is like the how you do the comps, what the boots on the ground look like, what there's this whole nother thing. So like focus on your backyard, you can walk the properties, and you can talk to the homeowners, and then you can gain the experience there.
Sure. How did you get your first deal?
It was a pre-foreclosure, actually. It was a pre-foreclosure subject too.
Wow. All right, that's
Yeah.
pre-foreclosure subject too. Okay.
So we kept the existing mortgage in place. There was some arrears. Um,
what
I
year was
actually
that?
2000 end of 2014. Yes,
2014.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually, we didn't have all these systems back then, so it was door knocking. Like
Wow.
I door knocked like, and I saw this property that was like super close to my house, and then I hit it like every day almost after the gym, because it was on the way to the gym, and uh, then I talked to the neighbors, and the neighbor actually connected me with the homeowner. Here had moved out, and we ended up signing the deal at like a Dottie's.
We
over a
don't have
beer.
Dottie's. Wait, do we? I don't think we have Dottie's in California. But
I
what,
don't think so.
like a
Yeah,
Foster Freeze?
yeah. No, it's like a PT's, like a bar, like a pub.
Oh, okay.
So we signed the contract over a beer, and I brought the mortgage current. It was like 2,700 square feet with a pool. It was a massive rehab, like massive. And I did pretty well, and I just continued to roll it over.
Did you keep you? So that one you fixed and then you flipped.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I needed to, right? Because I needed the
Yeah.
money. So,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So and that's awesome. That's a great intro because for someone who's brand new, it doesn't cost you anything to go knock on a door. I think the only thing that you would need was a pre-foreclosure list, right? A pre-NOD list. And these days you can get those lists from a bunch of different tools, Batch, Leads, Privy, PropStream. And if you don't want to subscribe to that, you can go find the local title rep in real estate, a title insurance representative, ask them for a list of people who might be in default. They may or may not be able to provide you with telephone numbers. They may just give you the raw data, which is the name, phone number, tax, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got to skip trace it yourself. And if you don't know what skip tracing is, it's basically where you pay per record to get the telephone number or any records of telephone numbers that were associated with that address. Cool. So you went, visited it, and you talked to the neighbor, right? And that's important too, because a lot of people don't realize they knock on the door, nobody answers, and then they just walk away. I mean, and you even admitted that you knocked on it multiple times, right? And again, it just goes to show how persistence in our business wins. The follow up, the follow through.
100%, man.
Cool. Okay, and then
Yeah,
you got
yeah. I would say, like, if somebody's knocking doors, I've always been in the place of like knock the across, like directly across, and then the two on the side, because the neighbors are going to know more than anything, and they're each going to have their own little story about what happened to the homeowner, but one of them is going to give you the information to the homeowner that you can contact, or you know give you some idea of where maybe they moved. If you're using a skip trace service, you can identify if they're like, oh, they moved to Georgia, and then you use the skip tracing service, and then you see a Georgia address, then you kind of correlate the two, and hopefully you can transpire a deal.
And those skip tracings they're going to cost you anywhere between 10 cents up to 25 cents a lead. 25 cents a skip trace. That might be on the high end. The average cost is 12 to 15 cents typically, but I'm just giving you guys a range, just so that everybody knows. So that was your first deal. And then okay, so you fixed it and you flipped it. So how did you get a hard money and then a private money lender, or did you have money? Did you use your own money? Walk me through that.
Yeah, I had $15,000 that my grandmother gifted me from my grandfather's life insurance policy after he passed away, and I used that, and I was, I still had my traditional real estate license, so I had some active income as a traditional agent, not a bunch, but I used that, and I actually partnered with one of my first private money partners, who
Mm.
said, hey, what he said to me, like, what do you have? And I said, well, I got 15. He was like, great, give that to me and I'll cover the rest, to bring it up in arrears, and we'll make the rehab really like, we'll do a lot of it on our own, and yeah, and then he covered the rest, and then we split the profits 50-50.
So going back to what you said earlier, when we first started this, you went out and you asked for help. You got somebody involved, a little bit more money, a little bit more experience, and then you guys did the project together. And
Yes.
the proof is in the pudding. It works. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So then 14, was a different market. So you've been working. When did you start to go into wellness, between doing your investments and your fixes and your flips and your buy and holds? And you were even doing Airbnbs too, weren't you?
Not so much Airbnbs,
Totally.
like,
Okay.
yeah, just like long-term rentals, but
Long-term rentals.
um, regarding the wellness piece, probably around 2019 is when I transferred the homes into like transitional living facilities, and then
Got it.
about 2020 or 21 is when we started applying for the license for the clinic.
And this is the right around, this is COVID period.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that was one of the main caveats to transitioning over to like my rentals into transitional living. Um, I had a mentor of mine that always talked about special needs housing, and I was like, dude, I'm fine. I'm doing flips. I'm good. And then he had passed away in 2019, and I said, you know, I'm gonna look into special needs housing, and then that's when I looked into special needs housing, and then I saw that there's this huge market for it and need for it, and um, and I'm glad I did because during COVID, you know, we significantly like slowed down production, and without that passive income that I had, it would have posed more difficult, you know. So like I'm really glad I had those properties as transitional living.
Sure. Are you saying that because you had rentals, and then when COVID kicked in, a lot of people stopped paying rents? And so is that what you're referring to as a passive income and then your transition?
Yeah, so you know, I I still had a few that were rented by single families, but then like it was like right before COVID, I had switched everything over to group home transitional living. So like, you know, a lot of that stuff is state funded, insurance based, you know, income like backed. So
Yeah,
like, you know, I knew I was going to get the the monthly checks every month, you know, and I'm glad I did, man, because like,
sure.
you know, there I had an apartment complex that nobody paid rent, you know, for
How
a
many units was
year.
that one?
That one was five.
Five
Um,
units. Okay.
yeah, it was like, and nobody paid rent, and that sucked.
Oh, yeah, of course. You're covering the mortgage every month. So
Yeah.
5 units, did you have to evict the tenants or what did you do in preparation for what you were going to turn it into?
Yeah, so I picked up that property subject to, which was fine, you know, so
Another
the
subject too, huh?
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. That is
yeah. Yeah,
okay.
you know, we were actually gonna keep it, but just because of the area, like it was kind of like a C grade neighborhood, and I was like, oh, we can do this, and I couldn't do it, you know, like just the rent income was unstable,
Sure.
and you know, anyways, then they stopped paying. So, but uh, there,
I'm gonna pause you real quick right there.
yeah,
Okay, so and I'm glad that we got into this. So we got okay. So you got 5 units. You purchased this one subject to. Um, how did you get this one? How did you find this lead? Because this is multifamily now. There's a lot of people that are interested, and so it's even difficult for them to make the leap from a single family purchase to then multifamily. And now you've got 5 units, and you got it subject to, which meant no bank checks, no credit checks, no loan applications, no banks were involved. All you did was negotiate directly with the seller. So how did you find the seller? How'd you get that deal?
it was a Spanish lead, so
Hmm,
um, you know, generally, there's just to be transparent with you guys, like Spanish leads don't, you know, like if you don't speak Spanish, you know, you generally don't get those leads. And I don't speak Spanish, but I had somebody that did, and you know, the guy was open to negotiate, and you know, he was kind of a tired landlord because he had another property, and you know, he was moving some assets to California, and yeah, I just it was like 20 20 or 37 down, 20 or 37K down, and you know, we put like 60 or 70 in it, but
sure.
yeah, you know, I honestly, like I would have kept it, but it was just so much. It was a lot easier to get rid
So
of.
let's say 37 down. Let's just say for rough numbers, 40 down. We're 40 down. 40 goes to the seller. You take over the mortgage, seller and closing costs, whatever. And maybe an assignment fee to the person that brought you the opportunity, to the person that brought you the deal.
Yeah.
So then you've got the 5 units now, and then you put in another 60 to rehab them. When he sold it to you, was it tenant occupied at that time?
Yes.
And were those tenants current?
No.
Or were they the same tenants that you had to deal with while you were doing the rehab?
Yeah. They
Okay,
were. They were the same. They were the same tenants.
crazy. Okay, cool. And I'm asking all this because I want people to see, kind of like the from cradle to grave, like how this happened. So now you've got the property, you've rehabbed it, and now you're transitioning it into was it a sober living or just
It was just a traditional rental.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But now we've graduated, and now it's 2020 or 2021 or 2019, and now we want to convert it. Now you're going to convert it to your facility. How does somebody do that, and what are the income advantages of doing that? I know you already mentioned, it's state funded and insured, and you get your money and all that stuff, and that's fantastic. But walk me through the economics of that. Like, okay, so what's the advantage of me doing that versus me? Let's just say that you had good tenants and the tenants were paying on time, and the income was, I don't know, $800 a month for each of those units versus what you could and were potentially making when you converted it.
Yeah, so the first thing is you got to get rid of the tenants, right?
Yeah.
You got to get rid of the tenants because a lot of them don't qualify for the services that you're going to provide in the house, right? So, that's one thing. They got to get evicted or find a new place, or some of them could be converted, but um, maybe they don't know about the resources that are available to them. So like getting them out, getting new people in, and then really like either partnering with a patient care facility or like a company like what we do in regards of like patient care, like crisis
Mhm.
intervention, suicide intervention, and stuff like that, or or have your own. Honestly, like probably if you're just a sole real estate investor, like focus on getting somebody to run the day-to-day operations because it's a lot, because nurses need to be there, case management needs to be there. It's a lot of a workload to make that happen. um, and once you partner with a company like that, there's so many people that need housing, particularly in metropolitan areas like
Sure.
Vegas. Like 7 to 10 people are inquiring about affordable housing or housing opportunities every day. So it's like, and just to one company, so there's multiple companies where people are. So housing is definitely a need. So the clients aren't an issue. It's the housing that's an issue, right? So it has to look good, has to pass inspections for like similar to Section 8, like it has to pass particular criteria to to be housing for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's say you've done the work. How many people are you putting, or and you're gonna have to forgive my ignorance because I have zero expertise in this. So, how many beds to a room, or how many beds to a unit? How many people are staying there? Um, and I tend to look at it right now, and from an income standpoint, whereas I know you look at it as how many people can I help, right? But for a real estate investor or somebody that's considering modeling or following your business model, uh, they're going to want to know some numbers too. So I'm just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together for them so that they understand, like, well, yeah, here's the income potential, and obviously the benefit is the fact that we are contributing to society and helping people out. So. How many people to a room? Like, what is the income doing it this way? The benefits versus just renting it out.
Yeah, if you're just doing like just general group housing or transitional housing with no services, you can fit anywhere from 2 to 3 people in a room, and depending on the room size, and they charge per bed. So it can go anywhere from $750 to $1,000 per bed. Um, and if you have 2 people in a room, that basically kind of covers the mortgage. That's excluding the costs of services. So, services would be like crisis intervention, occupational therapy, um, suicide intervention, like pill management, and those services are another source of income on top of just like the housing income. But if you're just looking like to do group housing, it's anywhere from 750 to $1,000 per bed per person, and you can generally fit two people in a room. If the room's really big, you can fit like three.
So, and when somebody decides to liquidate this as an asset and they want to sell it, are they selling the real estate and the facilities
Service.
as a business? Are they two different things? I guess that's another question I have then. Are they treated as two independent, or are we just selling the real estate? Or in theory, could you say this is a business that I'm also selling independent, or not independent, but as a whole?
You could do both, right? Like you could sell it as um, as the home, and like as the home with the licensing. So that would be significantly inflated, right? Like because the licensing
Yeah,
costs
of
and the
course.
revenue. So you would almost have to get like a business loan for it. Sometimes they're open to carrying the licensing. Like you purchase the asset solo via conventional or private money or hard money, and then some business owners are willing to carry the total cost of the business, like the licensing number, because in the healthcare business, uh, your national provider number and the longevity of it, they look at it like credit. Like the more patients that you have, the the more fluidity that you have, um, the higher value that that business would have, right? So, um, yeah, you can sell them separately, um, but a lot of times I see them listed on MLS as the purchase of this and the business license.
Got it. Have you sold any of your own, or are you guys just keeping them and building more?
I haven't, not yet, not
Okay.
yet. Um,
If
yeah,
anybody needed or wanted like consulting on it, is that something that you do or you offer?
yeah, absolutely, man.
Cool.
I'm great that you mentioned that because through the process of doing this, I've really mapped out a lot of line items, licensing information, total costs to start up, because we've done it in several homes. Like there was a point where we had like eight, and then we dropped down to five, and now we're at three, and like we've been like up and down with the different homes, just depending on how I acquired the home, right? So, um, yeah, we just uh, we do offer a full on like consulting piece if anybody's interested, like on how to start group home and uh, patient care services in their rentals.
Awesome. All right. So and you can find Tyson on social media, Tyson DeLaCruz. I think is that's your handle for almost everything, right?
It is, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You're lucky. You got to it before anybody else did. Any other Tyson DeLaCruzes. So
Only
okay, cool.
one.
Yeah. These days, let's go back a little bit now into real estate, and then we'll end it on talking about shrooms. Um, what projects are you looking at right now? Are you doing more fix and flips? Are you still doing? You're super well versed in sub two, obviously. So, what kind of deals are you looking at right now? What markets are you in right now? And if people have deals, where can they bring them to?
Yeah, you can actually send them over to Tyson at tysondelacruz.com. You can send all those over there. But currently, we're mainly focused on. We do have a couple fix and flips in the Midwest going on. Um, they were really good deals. Mainly, we're we're wholesaling or looking at rentals. Currently, we're in South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arkansas. We have pulled back from the Vegas market just like a lot, um, but that's mainly where we're looking at. Anything
Got
in
it.
the Vegas area that we're looking at is mainly for transitional living. we're mainly just looking at it for transitional living.
Yeah, that
Like,
makes sense.
and those homes are, the homes that we're looking to do here in Vegas for transitional living are bigger, more luxurious. Like that's the kind of model that we're looking to do for transitional living.
Wow, that's great. And it's funny if on social media, man, you have some big hitters that are following you, like big hitters. I saw
Yeah.
Jerry Norton's following you, and like some really so clearly. You've impressed them, and you impressed me a long time ago. But like I'm like, man, Tyson has all these big hitters following him.
Thank you.
All right, so um, before we end, I did want to talk to Tyson a little bit about some of again, I defer to holistic, but I shouldn't, or refer to holistic. It's your wellness and the stuff that I saw and the ketamine treatments and the psychedelics. So I don't know anything about that. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about that. Um, what what are the psychedelic treatments that you have learned about and have become an expert in?
I first off, I wouldn't say like, well, first off, I'm not a doctor, so like this isn't anything. This isn't any, doctoral advice or anything like
That's the
that.
disclaimer. Yeah, I should have said
That's
that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's the definite disclaimer.
Yeah.
In 2015, I was actually introduced to, my first experience with psychedelic medicine or psychedelia, right?
Uh-huh.
And that really kind of changed the trajectory of like my life and the way that I viewed things. Because as I mentioned, I experienced some severe depression and anxiety, and like, to kind of go back to the beginning of this is like when I was in that space and I was introduced to Eckhart Tolle. um, that book changed my life, meditation changed my life, and then psychedelics changed my life. And just kind of through that process, I saw like how many other people through those experiences, like their lives have changed as well. People that were, former addicts or, going through severe trauma or PTSD, like um, psychedelia like really helped them. And, I always had this, uh, I was always drawn to it. And I was like, why is this uh, illegal, right? Because it's clearly helping a lot of people, particularly like pertaining to PTSD patients and things like that. And like in 2017, I was going to open up a private detox facility where we were going to have people. We were going to pick up people from fly them to Mexico and then do an ibogaine treatment, which is another psychedelic, um, and it's a it's a quick like detox, and then they were going to go into our private homes here in Vegas. Anyways, that didn't pan out, but that's what kind of led me down this path of where I'm at today. And it's like, um, I found that like sound healing, Reiki, meditation, yoga, and psychedelics, and these like non-traditional medicines are like actually helping people. So like how can we become like an informative force, a reputable source for people to experience that, um, without any like negative connotation. So
Sure.
yeah, that's what led me, to get the licensing for this place. And licensing took like 16 months, and it's like it's been a process, right? But now like we're partnered with some of the university like UNLV, and the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine. We're looking to do some studies with stroke patients and former vets, um, to show the benefits of psychedelics, right?
Yeah.
um, and they've been around for a long time, like a long time, you know.
Yeah,
So
that's how Disney created Fantasia.
I'm sure, I'm
Rumors,
sure. Yeah,
rumors, pure rumors.
yeah,
Just so yeah, this went Joe Roganish real quick on us, but like yeah, Joe isn't he a proponent of it as well, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, man.
So
Absolutely.
Again, I wouldn't know enough to give any kind of an opinion, but I was impressed by your knowledge of it and the people that you have interviewed that have brought on, and there's a broad spectrum of people who come on there, and it's people sometimes that you don't even expect to be benefiting from what it is that you're studying and you're doing. So kudos to you, man. I appreciate you doing that. All right, we're out of time. It is 10:05. I only had him for an hour, you guys. Again, Tyson he's a real estate investor. He clearly knows his stuff when it comes to converting units into the housing facilities. And if you need someone to consult on how to do it, on how to get your license for it, he is a man. His email address again is Tyson@TysonDeLaCruz.com. Reach out to him. And again, the markets that you are investing in right now, again, one more time, Tyson.
Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Arkansas. Got
it. So if you got any opportunities, any deals that you need an end buyer on, Tyson is the man. Okay. All right. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm checking for any last minute questions or comments before I let him go. But I know you did this for me as a favor, and I appreciate you taking the time to do it. I always enjoy our conversations every time we get on the phone, man.
Yeah, man, I enjoy your energy, man. Every time I get off, call with you, you make me feel so uplifted, man. I love it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate that much. Okay, guys, 10:06. Have a great day, everybody. We'll get to work. Take care. Bye.
Chat soon.